condition of life. We get away from the Adamites and the black devil helpers, messing with the white light. Other religion of wickedness don't need tarot cards. I'm looking karate in the thought. I stay on my lahaj, learning, speaking, and read. And one day I'll teach it to those that want it and those that need it. The master teacher will be happy to see him, and he knows that we love him because we fight hard for his freedom with love and unity. Ashak is the key to the sanctuary of Yatman. Shamus Kawon Man. What does this mean? That means he has his own land, away from gossip and slander, evil, tripping and power. What do you need to be worried about? The meteorite showers and them fireballs knocking down them walls. It's over, yo. We want Babylon fall. In other words, get out the way. And when Baba comes home, we'll build a bigger Tamaray. I visualize the master with diplomatic stats, flying back to Africa on a private jet, rocking a Rolex, holding doctrine classes, filled with laughter, teaching online, reaching the masses. It's a brand new day, it's a brand new chapter. We escape the gun clappers and the natural disasters, and those that matter us, slandering black devil bastards that thought they had us. I've been dreaming of skipping on leaving the land of demons. Residual is needed. The master teacher gave us tools when he dropped those jewels. The reformer and the warner of this day in time. Just look around and pay attention, you'll see the signs. So what you gonna do when there's a food shortage and no source of income to be supported? Tamaray was our safe zone. When the master come home, we'll have a new home.
Et comment adresser Shamu et Isaac et Wu Sabat.
Are vegans healthy? Okay, roll back. Okay, let's get started here. It's another week, a new week. We have a lot to cover, and a lot to go over, guys. Hopefully, you guys can hear me loud and clear. All is good. So again, greetings to everyone. Greetings to those who are going to be live today, and greetings to those who want to watch the recording. Guys, for those who watch the recording, check us out live. Definitely check us out live. It's good to have the feedback. It's good to have conversations, and it's important for all of us. But definitely, Rahul Bat, Musa, greetings to our beloved ones all over the globe. We thank you at NoopooH.org for all your support. For those who do support us, and it's been good, but we got a lot of work, and we're gonna get things done. Okay, all right. So let's get started with today's discussion. Okay. Now, for those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Tebtu Re'e, and I've been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yananan, also known as Dr. Malachi K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture, which we identify as Wu Sabat, also known as Wu Nawak, which stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, based on the wisdom of the Hutri. In essence, what that means is we as an African people lived in harmony with natural nature. So our culture was about being in harmony and in tune with natural nature. And we argue that the suffering that Black people have been dealing with for the last 500 years, even the last 6,000 years, is due to the fact that we got away from our ancient culture. We got away from our culture of being in harmony with nature, and we have adapted foreign cultures. So for the last 6,000 years as Africans, we have been invaded by foreigners, and we have gradually adapted their cultures to the point where we forgot our original culture. And as a student of the master teacher, our goal is trying to re-educate our people about our original culture that we used to live. And this is at a time when we were rulers. This is at a time when we didn't have the problems that we're dealing with all over the globe. And what we're saying is that in order for us as a people to solve our problems are caused through the culture, by the foreign cultures that we live. And the only solution is to get back to the culture that is designed to reinvigorate us back as a great people. And that's what we are dedicated to teaching. So me being one of many student teachers all over the globe have been trying to re-educate our people about this ancient culture and why it's beneficial for us to learn and to live it, right? So again, I'm just one of many students. I'm not above making mistakes, so I always let you guys know if I do make any mistakes, please do not hesitate to correct me, because I have no problem in making corrections as needed. Okay. All right. So now, with all that being said, when we get started, what we try to do every time we have our discussion is we have a prayer system. We go through our prayer systems, our culture as an African people. Let me just say this: we are a very spiritual people. African people are known for being highly spiritual people, and that's one of the essence of our culture. We're not a religious people, but we were a spiritual people. Although we became religious today in today's world, unfortunately, we have adopted a lot of different religions, and we've gotten away from our spiritual practices. And that's what the culture of Wu Sabat is all about, re-educating our people about our spiritual practices and how we were able to connect to nature. Okay. And so we have a prayer system that is about helping us develop ourselves spiritually. So for those you guys are familiar with it, always follow along. We do our prayers in our language, which is Sabaic. And then I also do the translation for this particular prayers. Okay. So if you guys are familiar with it, you guys know. And for those who are new, who may be watching this, then you can, listen to the English version, and hopefully once you become a Sabian, you'll learn the language as well to be able to say the prayers. The key to prayer is tones. It is the tones of what you're saying that makes the prayers that much more significant in addition to what you're actually saying. So it's important to know that. All right. So let's get started. Bade kalal namasat wu fakor aman kasamun shalal po'ut. Panan safa kawun pa sawa wu pa tarak. Z kawuna nazula laha enkum manas sabaat wu sa'at. Ama hade en shafe'un manas salafu wu nataru. Aju layan nafasu kum afuk shana kawun kuma. Pa-sawa wu-pa-tarak. This book, The Truth and the Way, it was sent down for you all from Sabat Wu's side, star constellation, as a guidance and a healing from your ancestors and overseers. Return to your own. Accept what is yours, the truth and the way. Annun tawa ankum laha panan shafe'un wu alaj. Annun tawa ankum laha nasuinun. Annun tawa ankum laha ashuk. Ankum ata salafunun. Annun ata khara'ukum. Annun talub nasakuma. Annun talub nasakuma. And so nun sayim nataru. And so nun salafunun. Annun ata musba'u. We thank you all for this healing and cure. We thank you all for not forgetting us. We thank you all for Ashak. You are our ancestors. We are your children. We seek your help. We seek your help. Help us, divine overseers. Help us, our ancestors. We are Musba'u. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amen. Jennifer. Okay. Now, with that being said, every week, what we try to do is, before we get started with our actual discussions, we go over our core principles of Wu Sabat, and this is for those who are new, and as a reminder for those who are familiar with what we teach. The core principles is extremely important. In fact, all of our discussions that we have posted on our YouTube is based around these core principles, and so it is imperative that people understand this so that they understand the culture and how we go about living the culture. And so I always go over the core principles as a reminder, and hopefully we actually start living it as a people. So again, we'll get started here. The core principle number 1 is Ashak. And Ashak stands for divine love, or the power of love. And that's what today's discussion is going to be about. So today's class is about learning about what we teach when it comes to Ashak and what that really means to us. Okay. Principle number 2 is resurrection equals becoming goddesses and gods by opening our third eye. Now, we've did lectures on that. So for those who have not seen it, definitely watch it. And for those who have only watched it once or twice, watch it again. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of the Hutri and Ma'at. The Hutri stands for our divine mind, and Ma'at stands for order. We did discussions on that, so definitely check those lectures out, right? Principle number 4 is relationships. As an African people, we live of, for, and by each other, right? As a community, as tribes. And we did a discussion on that, so I highly recommend you guys checking that out for those who haven't seen it. And again, for those who have seen it, watch it again. Principle number 5 is morphic resonance / matrix. Morphic resonance deals with sound, color, vibration, frequency, tones. It is the energy or essence what grows existence. Existence is based on tones and sounds and vibrations, and it produces what we call matrix. So the matrices are the materializations that grow out of these frequencies. Okay. Principle number 6 is soul and spirit. Your soul is your emotional body. Your spirit is your life force. We did discussions on that, so definitely check that out. Principle number 7 is Leviathan equals moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. Leviathan is what we've been at war with, right? Definitely check out the discussions we did on that. We've written, wow, we probably put out like 6 different books just dealing with that one subject alone, Leviathan. So look it up. Principle number 8 is health. Health starts with the first key to health is a positive mind. As melanated people, sunlight, we need a lot of sunlight. Water, the body is 70% water. Fasting at least once or twice a week, we recommend. The herbal diet, right, that Dr. Sebi talks about, or other herbologists in the Black community. Exercising, rhythmic breathing, meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting. All of these are keys to health. Health is, as we say, is not just physical, but health is also spiritual. You can't do one without the other. And this is why we as a Black people are suffering from a great many health issues. It's because we don't understand that balance between the physical things we need to do for health versus the spiritual things we need to do for health. Principle number 9 is acknowledging Pa'ut, which is the creative force, existence. We identify that as Pa'ut. It translates in English to all, right? You can't add to the all because where would you get it from? And you can't take from the all because where would you put it? Existence itself, absolute nature, we identify it as. And we just, in our language, we say Pa'ut. And Pa'ut is based on what we call the smat, which is the cycles. Existence is based on ever-changing cycles. We're going from moon cycles to sun cycles, from moon cycles to sun cycles. So that's important to know. And the creation energy of Pa'ut, we call it Akach, right? And it translates to ether. And today, scientists would call it 0-point energy. That's kind of, or the quantum field force. That's the name they have for it. But our name is Akach. Okay, so that's important to know. Now, as a student of Wu Sabat, we have 3 primary goals. Goal number 1 is to raise the self. Goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And goal number 3 is to work to build Sabbatia. Now, goal number 1 in raising the self, what that is what we teach is to be born again, like Christians teach, is to learn the culture of Wu Sabat and to live it. Meaning you're giving up the old cultures, Western cultures, to renew yourself in living the culture of Wu Sabat. So that's one of the first things you have to understand. Now, in doing that, one of your first goals is to surrender your name. If you don't have a Sabaean name, it's important to choose a proper Sabaean name, right? And to make it known to all. Also to correct how you dress. As African people, we should be looking like Africans. That's important. Learn to speak the language of Sabaic. That's important about when it comes to raising the self. You must study our doctrine every day, which builds your sound right reasoning skills, guys. This is how you develop your reason. It helps you make better decisions. And that's what the doctrine is all about. And then you must practice and master our daily rituals to turn yourself inside out. This is how you open up your third eyes, through the rituals. Consistency, day in and day out, is the key. And you must always be positive. There's nothing you're going to accomplish that's worthwhile unless you have a positive mind. Your second goal as a Sabaean is to fight Leviathan. This includes working to free Panabab Yananan, promoting Wu Sabat, our culture, becoming a student teacher, and fight the 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan, which is ignorance. Leviathan feeds off our fear. It feeds off our ego. It feeds off our anger. It feeds off our lust and desires. And it feeds off our lies and deceptions. This is what gives Leviathan its strength, guys. And we have to overcome those things, and we have to fight against it. And the last goal of a Sabaean is to work to build Sabbatia. Guys, we have to get our own lands again. We had it and they took it from us, and we have to get our own lands. We work to support each other in business. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. We must set up a landing zone for Panathardo in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that would be supported by an African government. Now, Ashak or Ashuk is the key to accomplish all our goals, guys. Never forget that. Now, what does it mean to be a Sabaean? A Sabaean is someone who's thoughtful and cares, someone who is helpful and honest, someone who is responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice and honorable, someone who is righteous and humble, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who is loving and peaceful, someone who is kind and considerate, and someone who is neat, clean, and orderly. Our purpose. As a Sabaean, our purpose is liberation from adverse forces. This is what you're supposed to be working towards each and every day, right? So, 1, you must take action each and every day to free yourself of 6 ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by these spirit forces. Number 2, acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting capitalism, the gay agenda, miscegenation, the so-called equality of the races, and racism, white supremacy. These are the things we're at war against, guys. And number 3 is learn, live by, and promote the laws/rules of natural nature. Now, word of advice. Do not judge this doctrine by watching the behavior of Panabab Yananan nor his students. Judge this doctrine by the effectiveness of the information, aka information, that you personally put to practical use. This doctrine is based on self-authentication, guys. Also, know that we are not preachers, but teachers who are dedicated to answering questions until there's a meeting of the minds between the teacher and student, who then can work in unity, which is the only solution to our problems, guys. All right. Now, with that being said, let's go to what our discussion is about today. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Okay, so now today's discussion is on the power of love. In essence, the word that I talk about a lot, right, which is Ashak in our language of Sabaean. Okay, it's about understanding that concept, and that's what we're going to try to do today. Is try to help people understand the concept of what we mean by Ashak, or what we mean by love. And so we're going to get started. Okay, let's see. All right, so now, first question: what is love? Right? What is love? All right. So the concept of love has many meanings depending on who you ask. When you look up the definition of love, now if you go to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, guys, and actually I looked at different types of definitions on this. It's they're a lot of the same. They're all kind of say the same thing. So it has 3 points to love. It says 1 point A is a feeling of strong or constant affection for a person, right? And then 2, or B, attraction that includes sexual desire, the strong affection felt by people who have a romantic relationship. And then it says 3, a person you love in a romantic way. Okay. So it gives 3 concepts of what they say love is. And also, you guys can refer to Wikipedia on the word love. It kind of goes into some concepts there. I thought I had it pulled up, but I didn't have it pulled up. Let me see if I can pull up what Wikipedia says on the concept of love. Here we have, let's see, love encompasses a range of strong and positive emotional and mental states, from the most sublime virtue, good habit, the deepest interpersonal affection, to the simplest pleasure. An example of this range of meanings is that love of a mother differs from the love of a spouse, which often which differs from the love of food. Most commonly, love refers to a feeling of a strong attraction and an emotional attachment. And that's the key, guys. The concept of emotional attachment, which is really what most people call love, when they have emotional attachment to someone or something, right? And this is kind of how people refer to the concept of love. So I thought that was important to go into. So now, next question. Why is the concept of love associated with the heart? Right? So that's the question. Why is the concept of love associated with the heart? Answer. The human heart has long been identified with the concept of love. Everyone celebrates Valentine's Day with giving gifts of chocolate hearts. The heart is the organ of the body that regulates blood flow. Oxygenated blood flows through the heart, which is then distributed throughout the body. This blood flow process is the reason why emotions are felt in the heart. Blood flow creates an electrical charge in the body, and the heart is the area in the body that has the strongest electrical charge, which naturally creates the most emotional feelings. The heart is the emotional location where people feel pains of loss, sadness, fear, worry, anxiety, happiness, peace, excitement, among many other feelings. When we look at the above definition of love, emotional feelings are how people associate the concept of love. Okay? So that's, I hope that helps, guys, in understanding why people, associate with love with the heart, right? And that's because of the blood flow. And the blood builds up. So a lot of blood that it goes from the lungs to the heart, and then from the heart to the rest of the body. That's how the blood flow. Okay, so that's important to understand. And I guess that's the organ. The heart is the organ of the body where blood flows the most through. Okay, so that's important to know. Now, question. What does the teachings of Wu Sabat have to say about love? We teach that love is an emotion that is felt in what we call the heart center. The human being has a spiritual heart that is located in the center of the body. We used an upward heart as a symbol that represented what we call the sacred heart. So, guys, if y'all can see this symbol here on my screen, in the middle of this symbol, we have the heart and it's pointed upwards. And that upward heart denotes what we call Ashak, or what we call divine love. And so Ashak, the word Ashak or Ashuk, translates to divine love. And this is one of the symbols that identify this, what we call this sacred heart. Okay. And so if we go to a book we put out called What and Where is Hell, we go into talking about the Sacred Heart. Okay. So in this particular book, What and Where is Hell, the master teacher addressed this concept. Now, this book was put out, I think, in 1996 or something around it. Although it's been updated, we actually revised this book in 2002. And if you look at the 2002 version of it, it's very similar. There's some minor changes between the explanations, but it's, for the most part, the information is the same. So we're going to look at right here. So it says, let's see, question. What is the heart center? Okay. That's what we talked about in our last question we was talking about. Because let me go back. Says, what does the teachings of Wu Sabat have to say about the heart? We teach that love is an emotion that is felt in what we call the heart center. So I wanted you guys to be clear on that. So let me go back to the book. So the question then becomes, what is the heart center? Right? Answer. The heart center is not the physical heart that has 4 chambers and pumps blood, but it is the spiritual heart that is the meeting point between man's spiritual desires and man's cardinal desires. Okay? He goes on to say, human beings have been given ears for hearing, eyes for seeing, and the heart for feeling. These are not physical faculties, but the spiritual faculties of human beings. They are visible to man. They aid man in his mystical, or usually considered supernatural, powers, such as ESP, clairvoyance, dematerialization, etc. All of these super abilities are possible once man is in tune and knows the application of their inner senses. And it says you can learn about this in our spiritual orders. We taught this in our spirit. We had 3 spiritual orders: the Sons of the Green Light, we was teaching this; the ancient mystical of Melchizedek, we taught this; and we also was teaching this knowledge in the ancient Egyptian order. And that is the spiritual order that we're in now. So it goes on to say, man's physical. When we say man, we're talking about human beings. On the Nagaro, physical faculties. You have physical ear, you have your physical eyes, and you have your physical heart. It says the outward or physical faculties that aid humans in seeing, hearing, and feeling from the messages bestowed by the Most High. And so we have the word Oud, which is the physical ear. That's an Arabic word. And Ain is the physical eye for eye, and the Qalb is called the physical heart. Now, these are the visible faculties of human beings, right? Then it goes on to say, the heart center is the middle point of humanity, of man. For man, not mankind, which is the cursed seed of Canaan, who are a kind of man, has 7 seats or chakras or centers. Really, we as Nagaro have 8. So this is the breakdown of the energy centers in the body. Okay. Your heart is the center of that energy. And that's what this is why we say the heart center. The heart is the midpoint of your energy. So your energies can either go up or it can go down. Now, human beings, they live from the heart center all the way down to the lower center. So when you look at the heart, you go from the heart to the stomach, to the sexual organs, to the buttocks. That's the life of human beings or mortals, right? Because your heart is your emotions, right? People are very emotional. Okay. And then the stomach deals with the food, the eating, right? Your sexual organs, humans are always engaging in sex or reproduction. And then your buttocks is associated with the waste products that go through the body. So that's humans living what they call their lower energy centers, as opposed to living from their higher energy centers, which would be the heart upward to the brain. And so that's another principle. But let me keep going. Okay, so here's a breakdown. You have the 4 lower parts of the human, and the 3 higher parts. So you have the postrate gland, which is where your your sexual organs are. Then you have the navel or the umbilical cord. That's another energy center where the stomach is. You have the solar plex, and then you have the heart center. And then when you go to the higher parts of the human being of energy centers, you go to the thyroid gland, which is where the throat is. You have the pineal gland, which is in the middle of the forehead. And then you have the crown, which is the top of your head, okay, your cranium. Now, what are chakras? Okay, chakras are a vortex of energy, also known as a seat or center or cup. It revolves under the influence of a positive and negative current acting upon it in the same way as the rotor of an electrical motor that revolves when positive and negative electrical currents are applied to it. It resembles a wheel in motion. So these are energy centers in the body, okay? And if once you learn how to activate these energy centers, the body will actually, you actually feel a vibration, guys, if you ever have the experience of activating any of your energy seats, okay? And now this is just a description of where these energy seats are in the physical body. Then it goes on to say, what does the heart center, or how does the heart center affect us, right? The human being, man. Answer, the heart center is the point between the higher centers and the lower centers, or what we call cardinal points. Cardinal involves the color red. Okay, so we're dealing with your emotions. And your heart center, which is the energy seat for the heart, is the source of these emotions. And this is the spiritual essence of us, guys. So it's important to understand this. Now we're going to say there was a spiritual light that travels through the 12 occult nerves down the spinal column into the chakras of man. The 12 occult nerves are related to the 12 major pairs of cranial nerves. We're talking about your brain now. There's 12 nerves in the brain on the top of the skull. They pass from under the surface of the brain through the openings on the bones of the cranium or the skull to reach the organ sensors in man's body. At present, there are normally only a few of these 12 spiritual centers open that actively affects man's daily life, right? And then it goes on to say, as man progressed spiritually, tiny valves leading up to the spinal column open one by one. Eventually, the last three pairs of nerves are open. Now, guys, as you're raising your energy, it starts from the base of the spine, right? Just where the buttocks is. And as you're doing spiritual work, you'll notice that these energy centers, one by one, will gradually begin to open up. Okay, so it's important for you to understand that when you're doing spiritual work. Says in turn, open the force. Okay, it goes on to say the last three pairs of nerves are open. They in turn open the force of the 12 spiritual centers located in the brain. The force of these centers floods the physical form with spiritual power, which makes man aware. So your awareness will increase. Your body will be flooded with this energy. Okay, and then increases your level of awareness. It goes on to say this awareness, therefore, changes him or her from a human being to a son of the Nathar, right? Or what we, the masters, call an insanu kamil, which means a self-perfected being, whether you be a male or female. They change or transcend from a mortal to becoming an immortal, making them a supreme being. So once you achieve this, this is what we call resurrection. I've been talking about this consistently. This is another concept of, or more information on that particular subject matter, guys. You go on to say, how can Nagato, and I'm going to use the word Nagato, become supreme beings again, right? Answer, supreme being means supreme among beings, but you have fallen down to the ranks of men. You have lost the ability to use your third eye. You no longer have the power to control things, but you are controlled by them. When you become hungry, you allow your hunger to take control of you by catering to your cravings, wants, and desires. In other words, eating. It's not even a second after you decided that you are hungry that you're en route to get food to fulfill this desire that you have. You then become a mammal who reacts to your body's desires instead of necessity. So in essence, what he's saying is that we're controlled by our desires. And once you get control of your heart center and you begin to develop yourself, it will flip. You will then be controlled of your energies and your body, and you won't be controlled by desires. And that's what we're saying. Question: why do we let this happen to us? Answer: because you are literally out of your minds and you are controlled by your emotions. Energy plus motions equals emotion, and emotions become dangerous when they become motion. It is the same emotions that makes war, greed, lust, anger, etc. Emotion of greed is what caused you to overeat yourself into obesity. Emotions lead to what you think you need and what you feel you want. If you let your emotions control you, they will make you go out of your way to satisfy your pleasures and desires. Emotions link into motion. When you give in to your emotions, you give up a part of your divinity. That means when you are angry, hungry, scared, or depressed, etc., about something, you are no longer in control of yourself, thus putting you under the rule of someone else, which means you're out of your mind. Or that's what in essence, that's possession. That's how we get possessed, guys. When you allow those types of emotions to conquer you, whether it be your anger, your lust, all of your desires, comes from negative spirits. We've talked about this before, but let's keep going. You have surrendered your divinity, and this is where gluttony can become a part of your character, which is one of the attributes of the devil and his agents. A supreme being, however, is not controlled by these things because a supreme being lives for the spirit and not for the body. A supreme being no longer has to sleep, guys, because he or she feels tired. A supreme being no longer has to eat when his or her stomach growls because a supreme being is in control of his or her physical desires. The physical desires are not in control of the supreme being. That does not mean that if you have been hungry at one time or another, you ate, or you let your emotions take control of you at some point in your life or all of your life, that you have surrendered your divinity forever, because you can regain it back. Okay? So question: how can you get your divinity back if all your life you have been letting your emotions take over? Answer: a person learns to become supreme through positive prayer, positive meditation, proper exercise, proper diet, cheerfulness, unselfishness, patience, and the remembrance of the creative force, right? Pa'ut. This will enable you to once again regain the use of your third eye, becoming supreme beings once again. Is what the rebirth of the elite few, the 144,000, are all about. That's why it is said that they will be able to leave the physical body and raise up. They will no longer need the physical and the material world. The body, being a fungus on a spirit, executes certain desires, causing it to form arms, legs, etc., so that it could maneuver. You are made up of these three things: the soul, the spirit, and the body. The body houses the spirit, which is the skin of the soul, by way of the emotions caused through application of the 7 major centers. You then place a protector around your soul, that this protector you call a body, matter, and through its protoplasm and organs, etc. You became a being. You started adding more disease to the body. The sickness will cure itself. Start living for the spirit and not for the body, because the physical body is a composition of bacteria, of which when you die will return back or will turn back to dust. The physical is plaguing your soul. Thus, when you feed the physical body, you neglect the spiritual body and it becomes weak. By doing this, you strengthen the physical body, making it impossible for your spiritual body to grow. Therefore, if you overindulge yourself in the materialistic things of this world, such as food, clothing, or any physical desires, you become attached to this physical plane. Now, here's the key word. You become attached to this physical plane. And this is where people say, I love this, I love that. And that's coming from your heart center. That's where the attachments are coming from. That's why we're talking about this. And this is what people are associating as love. And it's really attachment. It's not love, guys. And it's very important to understand what's happening to humanity, what's happening to us, and how we are misappropriating what we think love is versus what we say Ashak, which is divine love, which we're going to get into that. So he goes on to say, once you get your desires and wants under your control, then you will be ruler of the body instead of the body ruling you. When the body is no longer needing, and you become a supreme being by regaining that supreme stature, you then become a son of the Nathar. Now, the goal, all of these emotions are coming from our heart center, right here in the center of our chest, or not in the chest, but on the left side of our chest, where the heart organ, that's where these energies are. And this is where the seat of these emotions are coming from, guys. The goal is to learn to be in control of that energy center. That's what the rituals are all about, to get control of these energies, to get control of these emotions, and not allow events to dictate us. The events dictate to us in our lives, things that create fear in us, things that create sadness in us, things that create all types of emotions. We're supposed to be in control of those things. Our ancestors knew we're in control. We've lost that because we lost our culture. This is why we're, trying to teach this. But let's keep going. We're going to say, now the heart seat emits a pinkish light in color because it is in tune with the white light of the 12 cranial nerves, okay? Or we call the 12 occult nerves, and that's in the top of the brain. And it meets with the red light of the lower part of man, which is your cardinal center. So when you go below your stomach, right, go below your heart to the stomach area, to the sexual organs, to the buttocks, that emits a different type of energy down there, which is a red light energy we're referring to, right? Now he says that they blend to produce the 12 beams of light, which are the 12 forms of love, guys. Important. So love number 1 is love of oneself, which is the most deadly. Love number 2, love of wealth. Number 3, love of fame. Number 4, love of success. Number 5, love of one's mate, right? Your husband or wife. Number 6, love of your children. Number 7, love of your parents. Number 8, love of brothers and sisters. Really, we're dealing with attachments, guys. When we're saying love, we're talking about emotional attachments. Number 9, love of one's word, right? People would love to hear themselves speak. And number 10, love of one's life. Number 11, love of the prophets or the love of the Nathar. Now you're transcending the lower forms of love into the higher forms of love. When we talk about the love of the Nathar, we use this is an old book, so we use the word prophets, but we're really talking about the Nathar, our ancestors. And then number 12 is the love of the creative force. We said the Heavenly Father, but we're talking about the creative force. So that these are the types of energies that are moving through us, right? And we have to distinguish between what we're calling attachment versus what we're calling connection to the spiritual forces that grew existence. There's a difference, guys. But let me keep going. All of this is the totality of all creation, mathematics, and a personification of the physical body and its ability to function on earth, right? Now, the 12 forms of love are in tune with the heart center, as mentioned before. The heart center deals with the thymus gland, which at the onset of puberty evolves sexual growth and maturity. It is at this point, which is puberty, that the thymus gland begins to disappear and it is dissolved in the heart center. It dissolves because you are now exercising both the higher, of which executes the decision of love, and the lower, which executes the decision of hate, which is the opposite he's talking about here. Okay, so that's important. All of that is important to know, to understand the purpose of your heart center, that energy center, and the center, where the heart is. Okay, because that's what emits the emotions or that energy there, and these are the types of emotions that humans are experiencing. Okay, so now next question: what is love versus divine love, and is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference between the concept of love versus divine love. Okay, so refer to another book we put out. Okay, this book is Safa Shalal Ashak. It translates as the Book of Divine Love. Okay, the Book of the Divine Love. So this is a book actually based on the concept of what divine love is in the form of prayers. Okay, so we're gonna go through it. It's not long, and we're gonna go through we're gonna go through it and then kind of talk about it. So we have it in our language, Sabaik, and then we have it in English. So I'm gonna go through the Sabaik and then I'm translating in English as you go through it, right? So it says Lama enkum safu layeh pa re'ehu safufa jakum pafaf kawun ashuk. It translates, when you all look toward the sun, he looks at you all. That is ashuk. Lama enkum lamus pa maye ha lamus sakum panan kawun ashuk. Lama enkum mashuk hayen pa tarub zi kabud zakum pafaf kawun ashuk. When you all touch the water, she touches you all. That is ashuk. When you all walk upon the soil, it receives you all. That is ashuk. Lama enkum sharuba asar zi khazurakum pafaf kawun ashuk. Lama enkum naduinun inin labui pafaf kawun ashuk. Paot kawun. When you all drink juice, it nourished you all. That is ashuk. When you all call us, we respond. That is ashuk. Paot kawun, all is. Ashuk wu ja shanash kawun ashuk. Wu ake sawefkum shaor ashuk. Divine love. And just what is divine love? And how will you all feel divine love? Wu shanesh sawef nasorkum lake aruf shanesh ashuk kawun. Kawun zi janas. Zi kawun tim. Kawun zi taba. Zi kawun tim. And what will help you all to know what divine love is? Is it sex? It is not. Is it affection? It is not. Kawunzi taj dhab. Zi kawuntem. Kawunzi ten sabun. Bayan haman un wu haman un. Zi kawuntem. Ashuk kawun ataf at. Is it attraction? It is not. Is it a relation between a woman and a man? It is not. Divine love is emotions. Ataf kawun ashuk. Wu Ashuk, Kawun, Wu Ata Atafat, Shanesh Inin Anud Lekum, Shanesh Enkum Anud Linun, Shanesh Kawun Ashuk, Ashuk Kawun Ataf, Shaorat Bi Taruk, Baot Kawun. Emotion is Ashuk, and Ashuk is and are emotions. What we have for you all, what you all have for us. What is Ashuk? Divine love. What is emotions? Feeling by way of in motion. Pa'ud kawun, all is. Atui, nashuf, and kum shalal bi Ashuk. Atui, nashuf, and kum shalal bi Ashuk. Atui, nashaf, and kum hazab bi Ashuk. Atui, nashaf, and kum yasar bi Ashuk. Atui, nashuf, and kum tarak bi Ashuk. Atui, nashaf, and kum tenkaz bi Ashuk. Come towards your own race by way of Ashuk. Come toward your own ancestors by way of Ashuk. Come toward your own culture by way of Ashuk. Come toward your all's own family by way of Ashuk. Come toward your own way by way of Ashuk. Come toward your all's own salvation by way of Ashuk. Atui, nashaf, and kum tabaf bi Ashuk. Atui, nashaf, and kum inen bi Ashuk. Atui, nashuf, and kum inen bi Ashuk. Pa'ot kawun. Come toward you all's own resurrection by way of Ashuk. Come toward you all's own freedom by way of Ashuk. Come toward you all's own by way of divine love. Pa'ut kawun. Okay. So that goes into trying to make some clarity between what we say Ashuk is, divine love, versus what we're calling, or people call, attachments, right? And so there was another book that we put out that goes into, now this is a book called Is Valentine's Day a Christian Holiday? Okay. This book was put out back in, let's see, Is Valentine's Day a Christian Holiday? We put it out in 19, this was a revised edition that was put out in 92, guys. And we're talking about Valentine's Day, which is important. Okay, so now here, the master teacher goes into 4 concepts of love, right? These were Arabic terminologies, just so you know, for the time period. Okay. And here he says you have this word hawan, which is one form of love. It's called spiritual love, which is affection or passion, link or liking or wish or desiring, longing, craving, fancy, whim, pleasure, caprice, inclination from the supreme soul or from the source. So this is these emotions that, again, that we're feeling in the heart center, right? And then you have another word called wad, and that stands for compassion, used for friendship or affection only, or loving. So that word means that. And then you have hub. Hub means affection for that which pleases and delights, like something or someone. And then you have ish or ashuk, and that stands for divine love, excessive love, spiritual passion, and complete devotion, a supreme fervent love. This divine love is much more powerful than the love that one has for others. Okay, so herein lies the difference between the concepts of what we're calling love, or what we say what people identify as normal kinds of love, as opposed to ashuk. Okay, so that's important to know. All right, so now question. What do you mean when you say the power of love? Answer. We mean that when one embraces Ashak, this divine energy gives one spiritual and physical power. This power comes with this power comes many gifts, such as what we call psychic self-defense, which is the ability to block out all negative and self-defeating thoughts. It is the negative mind that divides people, makes people disagree, makes people angry, makes people fight, makes people cheat and deceive one another. The negative mind is the reason why the Sabaean nation is divided. Once we start to embrace the power of love, we will stop judging each other from a mortal point of view. We will be able to judge ourselves from a divine spiritual point of view. The difference between the two is that one is based on fear and ego, and the other is based on ma'at. Question. What is the difference between the positive mind versus the negative mind? Answer. A positive mind stays in the power of love, does not allow conflicts to change their vibration to a negative frequency, able to maintain focus even though they may be in a negative environment. The positive mind identifies conflicts and problems, always looking for solutions rather than complain about the situation. They do not allow themselves to be drawn into a depressive state. They do not slander nor gossip. A positive mind is one that maintains peace within which enables them to always reason soundly. The negative mind is at the opposite polarity of the positive mind. The negative mind believes complaining is a good thing. They see nothing wrong with slander or gossip or allow themselves to be influenced by it. They are ruled by their selfish ego, always looking for what's in it for themselves. Their polarity is easily influenced by desires lacking self-control. They argue, they fight, and think this behavior is okay. They vibrate at a frequency that makes it hard to communicate with them. They are full of worry, anxiety, frustration, stress, fear. They are never at peace. Question. How does one learn to become one with Ashak? Answer. The key to Ashak is blackness. Blackness is the absolute state of peace and tranquility. Blackness is the reason why we are able to sleep and be recharged each and every day to carry out our daily activities. Sleep is a great way to recharge the body. It has its limitations because people lost their consciousness when, excuse me, it has its limitations because people lose their consciousness when in this state. One should never lose their consciousness when in the sleep state. We have the power to maintain consciousness even when in the sleep state because the mind never sleeps, right? Refer to we go into this in the book we just read, What and Where is Hell. If you look into lucid dreaming, it goes into this concept. Or if you look into the out of body experience, we're going to say, know that when we are in the blackness, our bodies are charged with the energy of Ashak, which is 9 ether. But because we are melon dominant people, the sleep state only charges our bodies maybe up to 20% out of 100. Now, going back to the concept of maintaining consciousness during sleep, guys, the mind never goes to sleep, guys. The mind never goes to sleep. Now, we've talked about before, there's 3 levels of consciousness, right? You have the conscious mind, right, which is our waking mind that you and I are having this conversation. Then you have what is known as your subconscious mind. And then you have what is known as your superconscious mind. The problem is our minds have been fractured, okay? In fact, I want to show you guys a clip on lucid dreaming that'll kind of give you some idea on what we mean by the fluctuation of our minds and how you guys have to identify how your mind is fractured, and then the key is to unify the 3 levels of your mind. Okay, so let's go into that real quick if I can find it. Here we go. Now check this out.
What if we could control our dreams? When most of us dream, our thoughts and actions are involuntary. The dream plays out as if we were watching a movie. But not all dreams are the same. There is another kind of dreaming called lucid dreaming, which is more like playing a video game than watching a movie.
By definition, lucid dreaming is simply the act of knowing that you're dreaming whilst you're dreaming. My name is Matthew Walker. I am a professor of neuroscience and psychology at the University of California, Berkeley. Most people actually think of lucid dreaming more in the sense of actually beginning to control what you're dreaming. So you gain volitional control and you decide what's going to happen during your dream.
Frequent lucid dreamers claim that they can control many parts of the dream, such as teleporting themselves to another location, learning to improve real-life skills, or even eating fire. It might sound far-fetched, and until recently, we lacked the technology to prove if lucid dreaming was real or not. But a series of recent studies has shed light on the phenomenon.
Scientists have designed experiments and they've been able to demonstrate objectively that when people say that they're doing something in their dream, that they actually are.
In 2012, scientists reported results from one of the first experiments that objectively measured lucid dreams using fMRI scanners. fMRIs measure the rate of blood flow to different areas of the brain, so they can relay information about a person's thoughts and actions simply through a series of images. For the study, scientists first asked participants to clench their fists while they were awake. This lit up key areas of the brain on the fMRI scanner. After that, participants were asked to fall asleep and dream about clenching their fists. Sure enough, similar regions of the brain lit up in both cases. Lucid dreaming comes naturally to some, but many of us have never experienced the sensation. However, that doesn't mean it's impossible.
How can we actually become more capable of lucid dreaming? Well, it's a little bit tricky, but you can certainly try to tell yourself that you will remember that you're dreaming whilst you're dreaming before you actually fall asleep. So try to go through a mantra chant, as it were. Some people actually try to do deliberative things whilst they're sleeping, like turning on the lights in a room, and that helps them to become aware that they are dreaming at the moment of dreaming itself, and therefore they gain lucid control.
Those who can already control their dreams with ease say lucid dreams aren't only for entertainment, but can also be used to expand one's conscious boundaries. On the other hand, lucid dreamers have also reported frightening accounts where they have trouble distinguishing reality from the dream. In some cases, this can be a sign of mental illness and should be taken seriously. But why do some people have the ability to lucid dream, but not others? And what is happening in our subconscious that triggers this experience? There's still a lot we have to learn about the causes and effects of lucid dreaming.
It seems to be only around 20 to 30% of the population are actually natural lucid dreamers. So perhaps if it was so beneficial, Mother Nature would have had all of us being capable of lucid dreaming. And the fact that we're not perhaps means that it's not necessarily beneficial, but we actually don't know. Maybe those 20 to 30% of people who do lucid dream are at the forefront of hominid evolution, and they are going to be the next species of preference. We just don't know.
Okay, so now when you look into this concept of lucid dreaming, guys, now you understand, even while you are in a sleep state, your body's in a sleep state, you have the ability to maintain conscious awareness. So what's happening is when someone is lucid dreaming, their consciousness is connecting with their subconsciousness, their subconscious mind. That is, their conscious mind is linked up with their subconscious mind, because when you fall asleep, you lose consciousness. The average person lose consciousness, right? But their subconscious mind is still operating, because that's what's running your involuntary bodily systems, right? Your subconscious mind controls your heart rate. It controls your breathing when you're sleeping. It controls your body movement when you're sleeping. Your subconscious mind is operating, okay? And when you're dreaming, your subconscious mind is activated. So the key is moving your conscious mind to link up with your subconscious mind, so you have complete awareness while your body is in the sleep state. That's the goal. This is the goal. And where does all of this take place? It takes place in your heart center. This is how you tap in to what we call Ashak, the divine love, that divine energy. Okay, to be in tune with that energy center, which is what our goal is. All your emotions are felt at this point in the body, at the heart center. That's where the emotions are connected at. And your goal is to become in tune with that energy of the body. See, because we're not taught this, we go throughout our lives not thinking about these things, and we experiencing emotions each and every day, right? We experience pain, we experience hunger, we experience anxieties or happiness. All of these experiences humans are going through every single day, but you're not taught that you actually can control these the emotional energies that's coming from the heart center. They don't teach that. We used to know how to do this in our culture. And so when you say you're tapping into divine love, what that means is you're tapped into your heart center, where you're now in control of this energy. Okay? And when you're at one with this, when you become at one with this divine energy, that's complete blackness. Because remember, the source of all existence is blackness. In fact, we are in blackness now. You can't escape blackness. What's happening is that if you're in light, remember, light exists in blackness. And what is light? Light is nothing but energy. But blackness is everywhere. There's no place blackness is not. So when we say tap into Ashak or divine love, what we're saying is you tap into that blackness, and then you'll be connected to all. You'll be in harmony with Pa'ut. That's the ultimate goal, is to be in harmony with that creative energy. Once you're in harmony with that creative energy, then you're not swayed by the different fluctuations of energy, which is what we call emotions. And then you stop judging things. See, that's the ultimate goal of why we're trying to tap into Ashak, where you can stop judging things. You always will judge, but you will stop judging things the way mortals judge things. And you start judging things from a divine consciousness. And you will understand the importance of collectiveness, of working in harmony with others. And you will not allow the way we allow different scenarios to affect us emotionally, which causes us to separate. You actually won't respond like that any longer. Negative forces, negative spirits won't be able to affect you anymore. You won't get depressed. You won't get sad. You won't get confused. You won't be full of anxiety. All of those emotional energies will disappear once you're in tune with that divine energy, that divine love, what we call Ashak. Once you're in complete union with the blackness, or I should say in complete harmony with that black energy, which we call non-ether. Once you're in harmony with it, okay? And so that's what I'm saying. This is how your body gets recharged or charged during sleep. That's what charges your cells, that this energy force. But let's keep going. I hope that makes some sense when we're talking about our ability to lucid dream, because the next level from lucid dreaming is you go into the out of body state, where you're able to move your spirit out of your physical body while your body is in the sleep state. And that is the ability to be able to go into other dimensions, other realms. A lot of people does it, right? As Sabians, This is what we're teaching. We're supposed to be in control of these things. We're supposed to be able to do these things at will. It's just that our energies are fractured. We're not in harmony with these energies because we're attached. Our emotions, keep this in mind, our emotions, what makes us cling to our physical body. Our emotions is what makes us cling to our physical body. So when you're not in tune with the different emotional energies, you become more attached to the physical, and you can't separate the spiritual from the physical, where you're supposed to be in control of that. So I hope that's clear to you guys. But now, so question: is there a way to get our bodies operating at 100% charged melanin? Right? Is there a way to get our bodies operate? Because when you go to sleep, your body gets charged, but you're not getting a full charge. That's why we're not able to use our spiritual abilities, because our bodies are not properly being recharged, because sleep doesn't charge the body completely. You're only getting a partial charge, and your melanin is what needs to be recharged. This is why we say, as African people, we must be living in sun drenched environments. Like, it's really bad for us, one, to live in cold regions, and two, it's bad for us to be indoors because our melanin is not getting properly charged. And that's leading to a lot of illness and disease that our people are dealing with, because we don't understand the physiology of our bodies. But let's keep going. So now, a question: is there a way to get our bodies operating at 100% charged melanin? Answer: yes. This is why we teach resurrection. This means that we have the ability to become one with our spiritual body, giving us 100% cellular recharge. If one is able to master the art of meditation, concentration skills, and chanting, they would be able to harness what we call sakhem. The Hindus call it prana, and the Asians, they call it chi, which would open one's third eye, connecting them with their spiritual powers. Realize that when you are meditating, you are training your mind to focus on blackness and blocking out all thoughts of the outside world. In the blackness is a source of non-ether energy, guys. So keep that in mind. In the blackness is the source of non-ether energy, and that's the state of harmony and peace, what we call Ashak. Is learning to keep yourself in that state at all times, while you are operating throughout the day. That way, all types of negative energies does not affect you. That's important to almost understand. In fact, they show this. You know what? Let me see if I can find this. They show this in the movie The Golden Child, guys. If you watch the movie, let me see if that clip comes up. I wish I thought of it because I would have had it prepared, but let me see if I can find it. The Go. Oh. Let's see. Okay, this is it. Now this scene right here, the golden child represented absolute love, right? And what was happening was they had to surround him by negative energy because they was trying to block that divine love that he represented. And so they had to surround him by negative energy, but because he was so in tune with that divine love, negative energy could not affect him. Okay, and I think this scene will go into it. Hold on. Now here they imprisoned him, right? Now he was being I don't know if they're going to show it because he was being encircled by how can I say, these negative monks, man, these demon monks who were trying to break his spiritual connection. Okay, because here, okay, they don't show her. I wish I would have thought of it, because then I would have tried to find a better clip. But it's a prime example of what I'm trying to explain. Once you're in the power of love, negative energy cannot penetrate you, guys. Once you're in the power of love, negative energy cannot penetrate you. And that scene, guys, if you ever watch that movie, in fact, it's good to watch the movie, because they had this child in that little prison and he was surrounded by negative energy. They were actually trying to do rituals to break his center. Okay, this is why we are so affected by these negative emotions, guys. This is Black people. We as Black people, we're highly susceptible to negative emotions. That's why we can't come together. And the only way the only way to overcome that is you have to learn how to tap into the Blackness, which is that's how you harness that Ashak. And then once you harness that, your body will be in harmony, and you won't have those fluctuating energies or those fluctuating emotions moving through you any longer. Fear will go away. Anxiety will go away. Depression will go away. All of those negative emotions that controls us. Our gluttony, even your desire to sleep, will go away. So your body, again, like I said, when your body goes into a sleep state, you'll be able to move out of your body, right? To go out of body spiritually, or you'll be able to go into a lucid state where you could be in tune with your dreams. You could be in tune with the higher spiritual realms while your body is recharging, because that's the purpose of sleep, for the body recharge. So I hope you guys understand that. Now, we go into this concept of the Blackness of non-ether in the book, the 9 Ball. I've talked about this last week. I talk about this a lot, but we're going to go through this particular section that deals with this section just on 9 ether. And to get, I think it gives a little bit more clarity to the concept of Blackness and why Blackness is so important. So we go here. This is in the 9 Ball part 1. This is we're going to start at paragraph 34 in this particular book. Okay. And it goes on to say 9 ether is the mental power and chemical forces that grew the universes. 9 ether is the combination of all existing gases and chemicals. 9 ether is the original forces of order. That's Ma'at, guys. 9 ether is the original forces of order, which is Ma'at. In the form and formula of 9 ether, our we say Ethiopians, but it's really Sabaeans, right? Our Sabaean ancestors grew the universes and then personified themselves as African pygmies at the source of the Nile in Equatorial Africa. So we were energy beings, right? In the very beginning, it goes on. Let me read that again. In the form and formula of 9 ether, right? We are 9 ether beings. What is 9 ether? It's the Blackness. Okay. Our Sabaean ancestors grew the universes and then personified themselves as African pygmies at the source of the Nile in Equatorial Africa. 9 ether began as a spontaneous fire in primordial chaos and grew bodies for itself, then called true stars or suns, one of which is the sun of our solar system. Sabaeans are the personification of the suns because our energies grew the suns. 9 ether produced the bodies of the suns, and in turn, the suns produced 9 ether. The suns are self-created, meaning self-grown, and are also self-existent. 9 ether is black. Therefore, the bodies of the suns are black, jet black. 9 ether is the power of 9 reason, which produces the power of 9 knowledge. There is no other power or force strong enough or wise enough to mentally and physically liberate the Sabaeans from his and her grave of ignorance and prison of serfdom, but nine ether, the Sabaean forces in nature. Nine ether is our powers in nature and by nature. When we Sabaeans lost our power to reason soundly, nine ether is what we lost. When we Sabaeans lost our spirit power, nine ether is what we lost. Nine ether is the scientific and spirit power of all Sabaeans by nature, meaning nine ether is our true nature. The power nine ether helps us make Sabaean history and restores Sabaean culture. And this means mental liberation. And mental liberation in turn beget physical liberation. The solution to our problems must be one which will work for us worldwide because our racial problems are worldwide. The reasonable and practical worldwide solution is mental liberation, which produces Sabaean creativeness, which is the ability to create everything we need, and Sabaean independence, the ability to think independently and act independently of other races. All power begins in the mind, be it political, economic, military, or scientific, because the body is just a framework and tool for the mind. Therefore, the prime power is mind power, from which all other powers develop and mature, including the power of liberation. Nine ether develops nine reason, and nine reason develops nine knowledge, and nine knowledge develops the nine mind power, which is prerequisite to Sabaean mental and physical liberation. Now, you guys know I love reading that, and I read that a lot because we have to comprehend that, right? Our power starts in the mind, and the way you tap into this nine power, the power of Ashak, is through the blackness, to become one with it. Because the blackness is what grew everything. That blackness is nine ether, that creative force. It is why all of the suns, when you guys look up in space, you see the blackness. And scientists call it what? Dark energy. And that dark energy creates what they call dark matter. And that dark matter is what produce what? The suns that exist. All those stars you see it out there, those are suns that are producing the galaxies. And we're the manifestation of those in physical form. We're the manifestation of that creative force. We're the manifestation of that energy, which is Ashak itself. And once you become in tune with Ashak, then it creates what we call a psychic self-defense. It allows us to be in complete harmony. And when you're in complete harmony, it increases your mental powers. It increases your perceptions. That's the key, guys, to increase perceptions. Your perception of seeing will increase. Your perception of hearing will increase. Your perception of taste will increase. Your perception of touch will increase. All of your physical senses are spiritual in nature, and they can be increased or decreased by your behaviors. That's important, right? That's why if you notice, the older people get, they begin to lose their eyesight. Their hearing becomes worse. Their sense of touch becomes worse. Even their sense of taste becomes weaker because their bodies are breaking down. The cells are breaking down. But here's the thing. If you had a proper culture that taught you how to develop your spiritual energies, you can increase your senses as much as you decrease it. We just aren't taught how to increase these senses, right? And so when we say we're in the body of Ashak, or we say the power of Ashak, or the power of love, this is what we mean by the power. Okay, it's real, actual power. Once you learn to tap into it. All right. Question. Does divine love, aka Ashak, equal black power? Answer is yes. Black people since the 1960s have been shouting black power, but never understood how true this statement was. There is power in blackness, supreme power that all know and fear the day that black people wake up to their own powers laying dormant within our chests. Black power is the only power. Black power is the creation power, the liberation power, which is the birthright of all Black people with woolly hair by natural nature, who are its heirs. So, the only way for us to restore our Black power is by way of Ashak, aka our embrace of the power of love. And remember, knowledge rules ignorance. And mind your mind for the jewel of your soul. Okay? So, I hope that makes it clear when we talk about the concept of Ashak, and what that concept really means to us, and why that concept is important for us to understand what the concept of Ashak is, that there's power in that, and to learn how to connect to that, because we have been misinformed on the concepts of love through this culture. And this is happening all over the world with our people who don't understand these concepts, and I hope I hope this is clear. Now, if anyone have any particular questions on this concept, you guys can definitely ask or chime in on what you guys may think about what I'm saying, or is there, any kind of thoughts on this concept, guys. And just as a soundtrack, guys, I just want to make sure everything I'm saying is clear and you guys hear. If you guys can press 1 to make sure, all are listening and paying in tune, guys. Talk to me. Press 1 for those who can hear me and are in tune to what we're saying. I can't stress enough how important this concept is, and to understand, what we're talking about. That's good. So I'm glad, you guys can hear me. So again, I guess I'm curious to ask you guys out there, if you have any thoughts on this subject, if you have any thoughts about what we're talking about as far as Ashak, and is it clear now what we mean by the concept of Ashak? So if you guys, if there's any, did we make, I guess my goal is to try to make it clear on what we mean by that. And so when we're saying, we want to connect or be in tune with this and what the benefits of it is, guys. So if y'all can respond to that, did I make this point clear on what we mean by Ashak, aka divine love? If y'all guys can respond to that, let me know. Okay, so that's good to hear. Because I guess the biggest challenge, guys, is one, what I'm trying to do is do my best of making a lot of the concepts and points that we do teach as clear as I possibly can make it, so that it'll help individuals in making better decisions, which is our ultimate goal, right? In the culture of Wu Sabat, we make a lot of decisions based on limited knowledge. And that limited knowledge is causing the bad decisions that we're making. And the only way we're going to change from these bad decisions is by having the right knowledge. And remember, as Black people, we are very emotional people, and we do not realize that all that emotion or energy is coming from what we call the heart center, and they have no idea that they can control it, that we actually have the ability to be in control of our heart center. But the key is to understand going into the Blackness. And that's why in this culture, they teach us what? Black is bad. The prince of darkness is evil. Get away from the Blackness. Go into the light. They always are teaching us to go into the light and get away from the Blackness, when the Blackness is the source of tranquility. which is why every human being on earth has to go to sleep in order for their bodies to be recharged for the next day. When you go to sleep, you're going into blackness. So we know blackness is not bad. We know darkness is not bad because that's how we sustain our lives. But now as Africans, we used to know that, but now we don't know that. And we're blinded by the light. And that's what we keep trying to teach our people. The difference between the light that blinds and the darkness that heals us, that gives us our tranquility, that gives us our peace. And that's what we call Ashak, that divine essence, that tranquility, that bliss. Our lives are so full of stress, and we can control that stress because there's nothing but negative energy in the body, and you can learn to control it. And of course, once we do that, our lives will change. Imagine that. Imagine controlling stress. Imagine controlling fear. Imagine being able to control anxiety. These are nothing but the negative energies that come into the heart center. And that's why in this particular book, we show these energy centers. And the heart center is right here in the chest. And that's where that energy is potent right there, guys. Now you can move that energy up to your crown, or unfortunately, we allow it to descend. This is why when people get depressed, guess what they do? They start eating. They start eating. You got some people that just go to sleep when they get depressed, you know? And that's how they deal with that energy. And they don't realize you can convert that energy from a negative to a positive, but you have to calm yourself. And remember, most of all of those negative emotions comes from the thoughts that we have. And our thought in these belief systems, a lot of it comes from the belief systems that we've been taught growing up. And religion is the most destructive, the beliefs that we have. This is the reason why I talk about a lot how the Muslims, because of their belief systems, they're willing to commit suicide by killing other people. You know, they get highly emotional, you know, that they don't like anyone who's not a Muslim, or how much they hate the Western world. And that emotions, which leads them to be in motion, that commits all of that negativity that they put out in the world. Yeah, we can transmit Zamal, we can transmit Ashuk. Actually, you can send that energy to family, friends. Now, keep this in mind. Your family, you know, you're spiritually connected to your family. So if you have a family member that's in a negative, depressive state, you can go into that meditative state of blackness and you visualize that family member, sending them positive energy, what we call the green light energy. You can send energy, that positive healing energy, to that member. If you concentrate on them, right? You know, this is a ritual you have to do every day. I would say if you go into a meditative state for about 10 minutes to 19 minutes each day and do it for a period of time, you can send energy to family. You can help recharge them when they don't know how to do it themselves. You could do it for family members, guys, once you develop that power within yourself. Yes, Allison, once you learn to tap into that force, because it's nothing but our emotional energies. Once you learn to tap into it, you'll actually be in control of it, and you won't be susceptible to all of the negative energies that plagues our bodies, that forces us to make the decisions that we make, all the bad decisions we make. You know, it's to learn to be in control of that energy field that moves through our body. And once you do that, yeah, you would I can't stress it enough how much it increases your abilities, you know, and your powers of awareness, your power, your abilities to accomplish goals. That's the ultimate thing. The abilities to accomplish goals, and so the key is, as we keep saying, is doing the rituals, practicing them day in and day out, day in, day out. Remember, we always start everything with the positive mind, because the positive mind is what connects us to these energies. The positive mind is what connects us to these energies. And remember what we said about the positive mind, right? The difference between the positive mind versus the negative mind. I can't stress that enough, guys. Understanding the difference, because our people don't know the difference between being positive versus being negative. Okay. And this was the number 6 point that we went into. What is the difference between the positive mind versus the negative mind? Right? A positive mind stays in the power of love, does not allow conflicts to change their vibration to a negative frequency, able to maintain focus even though they may be in a negative environment. Guys, keep that in mind. They keep our people in a negative environment in the so-called ghettos and slums of these inner cities. Is negative in those environments. And so when you look at a place like Chicago and you look at all the violence that's going over there, you can see how people are possessed by the negative spirit forces. That's why we're behaving the way we're behaving. Anywhere you see our people and you see us in these slums all over the globe, that's because our people they're like trapped in those negative environments. And that's why they can't get themselves out of it, because they don't have clarity of mind. Their reasoning isn't sound. They don't know how to think themselves out of those negative conditions. And so the concept of trying to teach them, guys, you can't, they don't realize that they can't get themselves out of it because they're stuck in that negative mind. They're trapped in it. Right? So we go back. A positive mind stays in the power of love. That's the blackness, right? You stay in that tranquility. That's what blackness does. Even when you're awake, you're always in that peaceful state, right? It does not allow conflicts to change their vibration to a negative frequency, because power of love is an actual vibration is what we're really talking about, is learning to keep yourself in that frequency at all times. Right? Able to maintain focus even though they may be in a negative environment. The positive mind identifies conflicts and problems, always looking for solutions rather than complain about the situation. They do not allow themselves to be drawn into a depressive state. They do not slander nor gossip. A positive mind is one that maintains peace within, which enables them to always reason soundly. That's how you increase your reasonability, by maintaining that positive energy. Okay, is when we go into that negative energy, you lose reasonability, guys. I can't stress that enough. So when you look at the negative mind is at the opposite polarity of the positive mind. The negative mind believes complaining is a good thing. I'm sure you guys know people who love to complain and they don't see nothing wrong with it, right? They see nothing wrong with slander or gossip, or allow themselves to be influenced by it. I know you guys know people like that who don't see nothing wrong with slander and gossip. In fact, they don't even know that there are slander and gossip. Guys, all of the TV shows, the news shows, all those, like, what's that? E! All of those shows are about gossip. The news is plagued with slander. Always talking about, something negative about an individual who's not even there to defend themselves, which is what slander is. What is slander? Slander is when you say something negative about a person and they're not there to defend themselves. That's slander. The news do that all day, every day. Our people do it all day on YouTube, constantly talking about someone who's not there to defend themselves. That's what slander is. Remember that. And what is gossip? Gossip is you're just talking about another person and that individual's not there. That's gossip. Slander is when you talk about somebody in a negative way and that individual is not there to defend themselves. Or gossip is just you're just talking about somebody. Like you say, yeah, I saw Shirley, at work the other day, and she slipped, man. She slipped and she she made a fool of herself. Now that's gossip. I saw her, I saw him at the food court, and they was eating so much, man. They was eating that person really loved to eat. See, that's gossip. That person, you're talking about somebody who's not there. That's gossip. All of those things are negative energies, guys, because what does it do? Gossip and slander is designed to influence the listener so that the listener can judge somebody that that's not even there to defend themselves. That's what slander and gossip does. It influences you to pass judgment on someone, which is what they do all the time, right? Like people say, R. Kelly is he's this, he's that. And that's because they slandered him to death in the media. Now, have anybody heard R. Kelly's defense and what he has to say about certain things? A lot of people who pass judgment on someone, they never hear that other individual, the details of their side of anything. There could be many scenarios. So I just wanted to stress that, guys, because this behavior is what is influencing our people in such a negative and bad way, is slander and gossip. And it works on so many different levels. It's the reason why in Africa, there's so many different tribes. And that's why we're so divided, because this tribe does things differently culturally than the other tribe, and they divide themselves and they talk about one another. And that's why we can't come together, right? Because we're constantly talking negative about this one or that one, rather than looking for a common ground, things we can agree on, things we can work together with. Once you're in the power of love, all of that stuff goes away. All that negative behavior goes away. And we start focusing on solutions and not keep talking about problems. When you're in a positive mind, you identify problems you have, and once you identify the problem, your mind automatically goes into solution mode. Our people, we just talk about the problems all day, every day, and we don't come up with solutions. And that's why we're stuck in our lowly state. We haven't been able to climb out of our depressive state we're in, because we're constantly stuck in that negative mind. And only by getting into the power of love can we rise out of that negative vibration. That's why I'm trying to stress these concepts to you guys. And it's hard. I know it's not easy for our people to get themselves, to change themselves from these states. But this is why we talk about in our core principles what goal number 2, which is Leviathan, right? Leviathan feeds off our ignorance. It feeds off our fear, our ego, our angers, our lusts and desires, lies and deception. See, those are all of the negative energies that start at your heart center. And those are the negative spirit forces. They feed off of all of that. And once you go into the power of Ashak, that's why we put here at the bottom, Ashak is the key to accomplish all our goals. That's how you fight Leviathan, by converting that energy from that negative frequency into that positive vibration. That's why, guys, you got to practice going into the blackness, and so that you can become familiar what that frequency feels like. And you got to learn to lock that frequency in and maintain that vibration as you're moving throughout the day, and stop allowing negative influences to alter your vibration. That's the key, because Ashak is a vibration, it's a frequency, and you have to it's what we call psychic self-defense. You have to be able to defend yourself against negative influences, meaning you could be put in an environment that produces a negative reaction, right? Or the people that you're around produces a negative reaction. Even the TV shows we watch creates negative emotions. You have to learn to protect yourself against that. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. It takes work because you're talking about your heart center. And that's all that blood builds up in the heart area, which is and that's what I was trying to explain. That's where that emotion, because of all of that blood builds up in that area of the body, and that's where the electrical charge is. And that's why you're feeling those energies, because there's so much electrical energy right there. And because we're not trained that we can control those electrical flows, that energy flow, you have the ability to control it mentally. It's through, of course, it's through the rituals, right? The rituals that you learn to do it. So I hope that this discussion, helps you guys, and really, I can't stress it enough to really take your time to study this conversation and what the points that we're trying to make here, because I think it'd go a long way in your sound reasoning abilities, and it will strengthen you guys. I can't stress that enough. It is strengthening you. So on that note, we are done with this discussion. I want to also give you guys a reminder, something I talked about, and I'm going to remind you guys again. We're going to be working on another night that we're going to be doing another type of show. And we're calling it On Common Ground. That's the name of the show. It's NoopooH Live, but it's On Common Ground. What this is going to be about is interviews. We're going to bring people on. I have it targeted for Wednesday nights, the same time, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we're going to bring on I'm going to start bringing on other Sabians, where we're going to have a discussion about what we feel the state of our organization is, right? And how do we find a common ground to come together, to unify, right? What do we think is keeping us divided, and what solutions we might be able to come up with that'll bring us together, okay? And so we're going to have different types of personalities. And guys, any of you guys who want to come on the show, let me know, because I want to bring on people who are doing things. If you're doing things in the community, if you have a business, I want to start bringing people on to talk about their business and what they're doing and how it's benefiting the community, and how we all can help each other grow the different things we're trying to achieve, right? And so we're going to start those discussions next month in January, right? I have it slated for the first Wednesday of January, but don't hold me to it. But I think pretty sure we're gonna probably start the first Wednesday in January next month, and we're gonna start doing that. And we're not only gonna bring on Sabians, we're gonna bring on people from other cultures on here. So we're gonna bring on Moors. So we're gonna start talking to the Moors and see where we can find a common ground with them. We're going to talk to Christians, brothers and sisters who are Christians, and see where we can find a common ground with them. It's okay for us to identify our differences, but we focus so much on our differences and not on the things we have in common. Because the one thing as Black people, regardless of your culture, that we all have in common is we're all suffering from racism, white supremacy. So, we're going to talk to the different brothers. We're going to bring brothers on or sisters from the Nation of Islam and talk to them and see where there's a common ground and talk about the differences. It's okay for us to identify what is the difference. What do we stand on as Sabians versus what do they stand on? And why is those differences, to talk about them. So it's not about us debating one another. It's just understanding our differences and to see where our similarities are, to see where we have a common ground, to see where we can support one another. Oh, Allison, you talked about the Saturday classes. Yes, I did not forget about the Saturday classes, which are important, right? Where we're going to talk about. I'm still working on those, right? Because we're going to do the Saturday classes. We're going to shift those, right, between NoopooH News, our culture, because we haven't had time to really get into what are the different cultural practices that we have as Sabaeans. There's a lot of things that we do have and we do that we need to know. We need to deal with language, right? So it's a lot. It's a whole lot. It is a lot. We're not going to do it. So I didn't forget. Trust me, I didn't forget. But I did come up with this on common ground and to talk to and bring on the different personalities, because I think the people wants to hear those types of conversations, and I think it can help in hearing from different personalities, not just me. And I think it'll bring greater insight to our listeners, right? To a lot of people out there. And so that's kind of why I'm looking at doing that. And there's a lot of concepts, a lot of things. Again, like I said, I'm going to focus on talking to a lot of different Sabaeans and students and the master teacher, and just us have these discussions, because there's so much we can do. Our doctrine is the solution. We always talk about our doctrine is the solution. We have the most profound doctrine on the planet. No one has as much knowledge as we do. So the question is, why are we not using it as a collective force to get things done? We need to be doing that. Our doctrine is too powerful for us not to be utilizing it as a power that it is. So I think we have to have that conversation with different brothers and sisters. What's holding us back, and to find out what they think the problem is, and how to get around that problem, how we overcome the problem, so that we can become a more unified people. As the master teacher said, is love and unity is what's going to free him. That's why I just did the discussion on what divine love is, because I think a lot of Sabaeans don't know what divine love is, and we get caught up in name calling or getting on talking about some other individual. And this is going on. First of all, this has been going on in our organization since I came into the organization. These conflicts among students, and it's a problem. And I've gotten into a lot of conflicts myself among students. This is a huge issue, and we have to overcome it. And the only reason why we're having these conflicts because we're not in the power of love. And we have to get in the power of love to overcome our situation. It's the only way. That's the only way, So with that being said, we're gonna move in. It's moving into our 9:00 prayer, right? And so for those who do not know, we do our prayer and chanting at 9 p.m. Okay, we have 3 time cycles that we do our rituals, right? Which is 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. that we do our chanting and prayer rituals. And this is for, again, for spiritual development, right? And tapping into that divine energy, that energy we call sakhem. We have to learn to harness that energy into our bodies, and prayer and chanting raises your vibration and opens up your cells to harnessing that energy. Remember, melanin it acts like a magnet. Melanin attracts energy. Okay, that's what the beauty of being melanin dominated people. We draw in energy into our bodies. And so when you're doing the rituals, that's how you draw in what we call sakhem. And I said before, sakhem is called life force energy. That's what it means, sakhem. And the Chinese call it chi, and the Indian people call it prana. We call it sakhem. And so the rituals are designed to harness these life force energy. So I just wanted to make that clear. So with that being said, we're at that 9 p.m. Time, right? And so, guys, for those people who are new, I do the prayers and the chants in our language. You guys can follow along because we have the English translation below it, so that's important. Now, let me just translate the top. I don't have the top translated, and I want to explain this also to you guys. Is important. We have this top here in our language, Sabe. It says Bade Kalal Namasat Wufag Kor Amar Kasamun Shalal Put. Okay, you guys see that? Now, what this means is Bade means begin. Bade Kalal, begin all. Kalal means all. Namasat means prayers. Wu means and. Fagkor means thinking. Amar means as. Kasamun means apart. Shalal means of. And Pa'ut is the creative force, or means the all, right? So now you translate begin all prayers and thinking as a part of all. So what that means is, what that statement is saying is this: you have to see yourself, imagine yourself existing in blackness, right? And in that blackness, we were saying begin all prayers and thinking as a part of all. The way you connect to all things in existence is when you imagine yourself going into the blackness, and in the blackness you put a thought, whatever thought you put to your mind. So imagine this: you're in the blackness and you think of, let's say, Ghana, the country Ghana. Now you could be sitting in Florida. You visualize Ghana and you can transport your energy there. You have that. This is one of the innate powers we forgot how to do. You can project yourself. Okay, you can project yourself to that. Guys, research what they call remote viewing. This is how the concept of remote viewing works, where you put a thought in your mind, but you first got to put yourself in the blackness, in Pa'ut. Once you imagine yourself in the blackness, then you put an idea or thought. So let's say you want to buy a new cell phone, right? You put yourself in the blackness and you visualize what you want to get. You put that thought in your mind. So we say begin all prayers and thinking as a part of Pa'ut. So that's why we say that. So when you're about to do a prayer, you want to put yourself in the blackness, because you're trying to communicate with your ancestors on the higher dimensions. So you want to visualize them, and you're sending out a mental signal to them. That's why we say that. You're sending out a mental signal to them to connect to them, and they hear us. And as you raise your vibration, you'll actually get to the point where you'll be able to feel them, you'll sense them. They'll start sending thoughts into your mind. As you master this, you start getting thoughts. Trust me, it happens. You'll start getting added thoughts, and your mind will get more clearer. So that's why we say this. So I wanted to, kind of make that clear and translate what that statement means. Okay. So let's get started. We're at 9. It's at 9 p.m. now. Bade Kala Namasat Wufag Kor Amar Kasamun Shalal Put. Pa Takyud. Anuki Jawaf Pa Ashuk Pa Put. Wu Kala Ashuk Kawun Jawaf Nia. Anuki Kasam an Pa Put. Wu Pa Put Kawun Kasam an Nia. Anuki Wahu Amar Pa Put. Wu Pa Put Kawun Wahu Amar Nia. Naku Kodor Naju Amar Kasam Pa Put. Wu Khabu Amar Muskasun. Naku Kodor Kawan Kala Pafaf Nakuk Daya Jawab Pa Put. Amar Wasa Amar Dayani Kawun Lake Bakui Jawab Pa Put. Anuki Yababi Nafasni Pa Put Kawun Anuki Pa Put Kador Nakuk Kador Pa Put Amul Nakuk Amul Lahehum Manahnun. Lahehum Manahnun Ahumata Karekum, Ahumata Karekum, Ahumata Karenun, Ahumata Jawafnia, Ahumata Nia Wu Anukihum, Yaye Ashuk Re'e, Asmua Jaye Nun, Yaye Nataru Afuk Nun, Anunata Mukra Ukum, Yaye Nataru Afuk Nun, Afuk Nun, Afuk Nun, Yaye Nataru Nun, Anun, Atun, Atun, Amun. Namazo Wahu, Yaye Mufaku. Yaye Hu, Yaye Hu, Yaye Nataru. Yaye Soye, Yaye Soye, Yaye Nataru. Yaye Hika, Yaye Hika, Yaye Nataru. Ankum Atapa Mufaku. Yaye Hu, Yaye Hu, Yaye Nataru. Ankum Atapa Mufaku. Wu Anun Ata Mukra Ukum. Wu Ankum Ata Musanun. Yaye Hu, Yaye Hu, Yaye Nataru. Aro Muklas Num Atun Reye. Yaye Hu, Yaye Hu, Yaye Nataru. Namazo Atu, Aro and Hu. Yaye Muktamu Afutnun. Ankum Mane Yake Laduda Muslafunun. Wu Musa Unun. Mane Yake Sawuru Paba. Mane Yake Kawuna Ka'u. Mane Yake Ata Akak. Mane Yake Kawuna Bashar Wu Damam. Yaye Nataru Muktamu Nun. Aro Muftad Nun. Anhu Kawun Mazamane Pa Nataru. Aro Anhu. Anhu Kawun Baba Yananan. Aro Anhu. Anhu Kawun Atum Ureye. Aro Anhu. Anhu Kawun Haro. Namazo Dalu. Yaye Nataru Muslafunun. Afut Nun Mane Pa Mujwa'u. Afut Nun Mane Gal Ha'an. Yaye Nataru Afutnun, Mane Saya Khayara, Afutnun Afutnia, Afutnun Afutnia, Yaye Nataru Nun, Namazo Rabu Pa Takmui. Nakuk Talub Takmui Bi Pa Nataru, Pa Mane Pa Laan Lui Tananu, Kale Rano Atni at the Lehe Pa Nataru. Wu kale namazo atni at the lahe kayat yatun laye pan taru. Pa sawa wu pa toro. Panem misfa kawun pa sawa wu pa toro. Z kawuna nazula lahe enkum manem mispat wu masa. Ame hade en wu damal manem muslafu kum wu nataru. Aju laye nafasu kum. Afuk shene kawun kum. Pa sarwa wu pa turuk. Pa hadean wu pa shefe. En nun tawa en kum. Lehe panen dama wu shefe. En nun tawa en kum. Lehe tem nasui nun. En nun tawa en kum. Lehe ashuk kuma. En kum ata muslafunun. Anun ata mukra ukum. Anun talub nasa kuma. Anun talub nasa kuma. And so nun kahen nataru. And so nun muslafunun. Anun ata muspatu. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amun. Yaye nataru nun. Yaye mufta'u. Yaye nataru. Yaye atum re'e. Yaye natar. Yaye nun. Yaye natar. Yaye nun tat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye ha. Yaye natar. Yaye ha tat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye kak. Yaye natar. Yaye kak tat. ya ye nathar tat, ya ye amun, ya ye nathar, ya ye amun tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye atun, ya ye nathar, ya ye shashash, ya ye nathar, ya ye tafaf natat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sabab, ya ye nathar, ya ye natat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye arash tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye asar, ya ye nathar, ya ye nabab hatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye satak, ya ye nathar, ya ye hara, ya ye nathar, ya ye haptwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye anaktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye ahaharatwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye nafartun, ya ye nathar, ya ye menthu, ya ye nathar, ya ye bapti, ya ye nathar, ya ye sechem tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye hatat haratat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye baibis, ya ye nathar, ya ye patata, ya ye nathar, ya ye basastat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye imhatap, ya ye nathar, ya ye hu, ya ye nathar, ya ye matat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye mahart, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye kafre'e, ya ye nathar, ya ye miskanat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye horaye tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye kintamin to you, ya ye nathar, ya ye hika, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye ma'at, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye horanen tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye she, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sashat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye mafdat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sabak, ya ye nathar, ya ye anap, ya ye nathar, ya ye khanum, ya ye nathar, ya ye khanas, ya ye nathar, ya ye patad tanun, ya ye nathar, ya ye soye, ya ye nathar, ya ye haktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye amas, ya ye nathar, ya ye sraftwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye atum re'e, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye dahutwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye patata warat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sakar tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye ha, ya ye nathar, ya ye nehebka'a, ya ye nathar, ya ye sakar, ya ye nathar, ya ye ba'a, ya ye nathar, ya ye akar, ya ye nathar, ya ye imharatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye wapawatat, ya ye nathar, ya ye sakat hatap tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye meritat, sakar tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sayetat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye garatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye asat inu, ya ye nathar, ya ye bahatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye chanam, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye manaktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye chamem, ya ye nathar, ya ye mahatwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye kabefsin and afaf, ya ye nathar, ya ye damata afaf, ya ye nathar, ya ye meritat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye nasat, ya ye nathar, ya ye imhdadad tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye nakakbatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye satak, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye anaktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye dadad, ya ye nathar, ya ye tum, ya ye nathar, ya ye wahu, ya ye nathar, ya ye nat, ya ye yasas, ya ye nathar, ya ye anach, ya ye nathar, ya ye afterwit, ya ye nathar, ya ye satat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sakatwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye immaat, ya ye nathar, ya ye nana, ya ye nathar, ya ye imnuit, ya ye nathar, ya ye imsatatwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye mutal tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye urahashafaf, ya ye nathar, ya ye maratwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye amun re'e, ya ye nathar, Yehu Anun Atha Khaled Jawef Pot Nun Re'e Tun Re'e Tun Re'e Mun Re'e Jennifer. Okay. It's the end of our rituals. Now, for those who are not familiar with that, the purpose of doing the rituals, the prayers, then we go into the chanting. It's about recalibration, right? Getting our bodies to vibrate on a certain tone or a certain frequency. Okay. The physical body actually vibrates on what we call the A tone. That's why we use chant like Amun. Everything is with that That's the A tone, and we're trying to get our body to vibrate on that A tone, and that's what basically stimulates the spiritual centers in the body. Okay, it takes it takes practice. It takes a while to get your body conditioned and tuned to those frequencies. And so this is why we do the prayers and the chanting. One, the prayers act as a form of mental affirmations and communications to your ancestors, and then we do it in that chanting format because now you're trying to raise your vibration up to their realms to be able to communicate with them. And so this is the purpose of doing the rituals and why we do it like this, and why we try to teach to do it consistently 3 times out of the day. I know people's schedule makes things like that difficult, but what's more important than your spiritual growth? What's more important than your health? What price can you put on that? And it's sad that we have a lifestyle that distracts us from even developing ourselves spiritually. But that's why we're trying to teach, because our people don't know this. They do not have this right knowledge. And that's why we're dedicated to try our best to help our people to get this information. So I hope it helps. I always try to explain these things, especially for people who are new, who may be stumble onto our to our site. So it's important. And for you guys who are not new, it works as a reminder. It's a reminder, doesn't hurt, it helps all the time. So that's why we go into these things. So with that being said, I hope today's discussion is going to help. I always say, spread the word, let everyone knows, and if no one else has any questions or concerns or anything like that, because I'll take it. But if not, it looks like you guys are pretty cool. What we've done. I just pray that it's helping. What we're teaching, all of the discussions that we're having is helping. And to remember to always spread the word, let other people know, sit down with family, friends, watch the other lectures with them, get their opinions, see what they think. I'm always asking you guys to ask questions that will help stimulate conversation. It also lets me know where you guys are thinking, where your minds, your mindsets are, because our ultimate goal is the meeting of the minds. Because when we're all agreeing, right, and we all acknowledge the same things, that means we're going to begin to make the same decisions. And as we're making the same decisions, that's where unity comes into play. So keep that in mind. Sabeg, question from Gawada. Will Sabeg be ruled by Ashak? Sabeg is Ashak, right? That's what I'm trying to explain. That's the first principle that we teach. Remember that. That's very important, right? For us to know that the first principle of Wu Sabat is Ashak. You can't even call yourself a Sabian if you're not someone who's trying to put themselves in the mindset of Ashak, to put themselves in that frequency. Because remember, Ashak is a vibration, that's a frequency, that's absolute blackness. Okay. So guys, next week discussion is going to be on Black Power. Next week discussion is going to be on Black Power. What is Black Power? Our people don't understand. They had that slogan in the 60s and they don't realize how true that is. That's why it's sad for me. And we'll get into this. We'll get into with the Moors and all that stuff. We'll get into that next week. Because we're going to be talking about we're going to discuss about Black Power. What is Black Power? So that's next week's discussion that we're going to talk about, right? Black Power. Our people don't realize there's power in blackness, guys. And the key to it is Ashak, because it's a vibration, it's a frequency, it's a tone. So you can't call yourself a Sabian if you're not someone who's embodying Ashak. So whenever you see somebody who says they're a Sabian, but their behavior is chaotic, that individual has more growth to do, and that's cool. All of us is on a journey of growth and development, to expand our consciousness. And so everyone's on that journey, and it's cool. And that's why we do these discussions, to help all of us be better. I'm trying to help myself be better, and hopefully these discussions will help you guys be better. Because our goal, as I read before, is our ultimate goal is to transform ourselves from being mortals who are destined to die and reincarnate to becoming immortals who resurrect and are able to move up into the higher dimensions, right? And move on to higher galaxies. That's the ultimate goal, to be able to come to transcend from this lower dimension or lower galaxy that we're in, the Milky Way galaxy, that's vibrating. This universe is vibrating on that 3 ether energy, and to be able to resurrect into a galaxy or a star system that's vibrating at a much higher density. That's our goal, right? Because when somebody physically dies, they're either going to reincarnate back into a body on the 3rd density, or resurrect up, where they get a new body that is in harmony with a higher density. Either way, you're either going to go up or you're going to go down. And that's really what we're trying to explain to our people, because death is imminent. You're going to experience, a physical expiration. The question is, where do your spirit go? Will your spirit go up? Or will your spirit stay down here on this realm? Will you be trapped down here? Or will you rise up? That's the goal, to educate our people. And our culture is based on explaining to our people existence and how existence really works. Because we're not going to be taught this nowhere else. We're the ones with the complete right knowledge. Everyone else had bits and pieces of this information, but it's not complete in a package the way we do it and the way we explain it. So I hope that helps. On that note, until next week, right? Until next week, I bid you all Ashak and much, much, much blessings, guys. Much blessings. Why do Muisar? Why do Muisar? Muisar, why?
You to receive the blessings. Oh, that is for you. Lerato, letado, caiço, Kumo, Sebete, Matla, Hoina, love, joy, peace, wealth, courage, and strength unto you. Yes, you. Joy be unto you. Oh, Now,